Okay, so this is already in the bowl with water because I did take one and it took really long. And I'm trying not to give you a long video because you're a busy man. So I'm going to try and run through what I went through quicker. First, we're in the soaking portion of bread making. Now again, this is very simple. Very simple. It just requires a little bit of pre-planning. I like to soak for a minimum of 10 hours, sometimes 8, depending on the grain. But most of the time, I soak 12 hours, about 12 hours on the dot. Now this is quinoa. You said you're familiar with quinoa. Quinoa is a seed, technically, so it's called a pseudo grain because it's a seed. But when you cook it, it gets nice and fluffy. Now, why do we soak? To make it as simple as possible. When the quinoa is in this seed, it can last for years, no problem. It has a skin, and that skin protects it, right? That's what most people would think. It's the shell that protects it. But, sorry for the mess, apples have skins too. Oranges have skin too. Pineapples have skin too, but they only last at maximum months. They don't last years. So it's not just the skin that protects grains, seeds, nuts from going bad. It's something else. It's actually chemicals on these little seeds, right? And they're, I think for quinoa, it's called saponins. You can research that some more yourself. But those chemicals basically protect the seed from going bad, but also from just germinating willy-nilly, start to grow roots, and all of a sudden in your plastic bag, right? So when you soak them in water, you are, in essence, reproducing the conditions that would be in the soil. Number one, if they were in the soil, they would be usually underneath something. And number two, it'd usually be moist. If it was dry soil, they wouldn't sprout. Now, when you soak it in water, as you replicate the conditions of the soil, the chemicals, saponins, I believe, will start to break down in the water. Because the seed, by God's grace, thinks that it is about to be planted. So it's like, I don't need to protect the shell anymore. I need to start to release all my saponins so that I can sprout. Now the question is it a big deal that you eat this grain as such? Because if you look at the package of quinoa and you look at the cooking instructions, they'll say rinse it a couple times, throw it in a pot, 20 minutes, you're done. Now, it will get soft in 20 minutes. It will be consumable, edible in 20 minutes, but it won't be the most healthful because those saponins are still in there. And those chemicals, they go into your body, and God did not design us to eat the seed as is, right? The seed was designed to go into the ground. So those chemicals in these that protect the seed actually block the absorption of nutrients in our intestines. So if you eat quinoa straight from the bag, I think the numbers is like 50% or something like that of the chemicals are blocked from absorbing into your system. In addition to that, it may actually damage your system. Some people, most of us will heal, right? But if you do it enough, it'll actually destroy your stomach depending on your strength of your stomach. Now, we soak so that the chemicals will start to break down in the water, and quinoa is very noticeable. It'll actually be very, very soapy the next morning, and you'll see that. And when it's soapy, it will, you can basically throw it away and then rinse it some more and rinse it till it's almost clear, and then do your next step. Quinoa and buckwheat, 8 hours suffice. But honestly, I've soaked them to 12 hours and seen a great difference from 8 to 12. But 8 hours is pretty standard for the quinoa and buckwheat. The other grains, you definitely want to do 12 hours. We'll talk about the grains later. Anyway, I hope that has helped you in this section of the video. We will go on to the next section, which is blending, rinsing and blending.